we've got a marketing guru in studio joining us in our lounge. She's been on the LOC for the 2010 FIFA World Cup regarding marketing. There's so many incredible things that she's done, paved the way for, I guess, people like me, because that's exactly where I'm heading. That's Emmy Casseletti. She'll tell you exactly who she is when we talk about the incredible impact that you've brought into the marketing realm in South African football and sport as a whole. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome to the Ladies Club. It's so good to have you.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
So we started off the show and we chatted about our trailblazer, Jessica Motong, and I saw you kind of offset, just nodding your head. You, of course, spent 5 years at Kaizer Chiefs before she got there. So tell us a little bit about the journey and the journey of actually getting into football marketing to begin with.
Okay, well, it was actually a lot more, because indirectly I was involved with Kaizer Chiefs. So when I was still at Robert Kappa, we sponsored Mamelodi Sundowns in 1983. Now, I'm giving my age away, 1983.
Sure.
And all along, we wanted Kaizer Chiefs. We wanted to sponsor them. And they were with Puma, and they just weren't available. But eventually, in 1988, we signed a deal with Kaizer Chiefs. So that's really when I started working with them. So if you count that, it's over 10 years with Kaizer Chiefs. So that was the beginning of the relationship with Kaizer Chiefs, and 83 was the beginning of the relationship with South African football.
All right. I also want to go back there now, because you've mentioned Kappa, but that was also the first time, thanks to you and your involvement, that Kappa became the first sponsor for our national football team, Bafana Bafana.
That's right. 1991, before Bafana was allowed back into FIFA, we were the first sponsors before Castle, and we were quite revolutionary, because for the first time a sponsor took care of both on the field and off the field clothing. So we had them in blazers and chino pants, and the guys looked really good.
What was it like, though, breaking through and getting into this industry?
It was really difficult. Difficult for me in those days. Now, bear in mind, I'm talking about mid-80s, early 90s. So it was definitely the gender barrier, but there was a colour issue, because, I mean, what is this white woman doing in football? In those days, it's like, but I think as you go along and you show your worth and you show that you know what you're talking about, I think that sort of falls by the wayside. And my entry into South African football was very comfortable. It was the best time of my life. Working with Sundowns early 1983 with Zola Mahobe. I mean, it was a long time ago.
Sure, Emmy, I mean, let's look at your background and just obviously educate some of the viewers. You are known to be a marketing guru. You started marketing, and you've got a brand management diploma. You went to vets with that marketing, communications as well. So, and you've brought a lot of that, not only in the football fraternity. Outside, we're looking at the Blow Biller as well. You've had an involvement there. Just share with us some of your experience in terms of what you do to the viewers.
Well, I'm a chartered marketer, so I think that's the ultimate in terms of marketing. Yeah. In the positions that I've had, I haven't only worked with football. I've worked with other sports, but funnily enough, I always go back to football, because that is my first love. When I was at Kappa, we started sponsoring, and simultaneously, when we had the best football team in the country, arguably. We had Kaizer Chiefs, and then we went for the best rugby team, arguably, in the country. No, we went for Natal Sharks.
Oh,
then.
yes.
So, which was quite extraordinary to have. You've got to keep thinking of the year that we were in, mid-80s.
Sure.
You had the same brand sponsoring a black soccer team and a white rugby team. So, and it was brave, because it went against all marketing norms, because marketing experts say that black market and the white market, but we merged the two. We were trailblazers in terms of marketing, I must say. You had a time when there was a Putco bus with Kappa branding, and then the Kugel in a Mercedes-Benz had a Kappa logo on her car. So it cut across all cultural, race, and LSM barriers, as we say, lifestyle meters.
I mean, that kind of just touches on the eras within which you've actually overseen this growth in sports marketing. But more than that, you've also seen just the entire sports arena change because of how professional it's become and how much money is being poured into football.
Yes, yes. Football, there's nothing quite like live sport to give a return on investment, especially in today's day where everything can be pre-recorded. You can go onto anything. It's on your cell phone, you can watch anything. Sport is really the only medium that gives you immediate, that gives you results that you can't really record. So the value of sport has grown exponentially with what's happened in broadcast. And in those days, it wasn't the case at all. In those days, football matches were barely televised.
True.
In fact, Kappa sponsored the American track and field team in the mid-'80s, and that's Carl Lewis, Flo Jo, all those big names. But South Africans weren't watching it on TV because of the sanctions. So, yes, gone through all of that, like the invention of the light bulb.
All right, let's bring it back home now to the 2010 FIFA World Cup. You said it was a dream of yours to work for the World Cup, to be part of the local organising committee. Your involvement of that?
Well, I started working on the bid.
Yeah.
Before we got it. So
yes.
I was seconded to the local organising, to the bid committee in 2003. So we worked on the bid, which involved visits from FIFA, technical visits, hosting to check if we were ready to host.
Yes.
And then eventually when we were awarded the World Cup in 2005, I joined the LOC full-time as head of marketing. So that was fantastic. Working with a corporation like an association like FIFA was the ultimate for me. It was a revelation to see how they worked, so professional and so just completely on another level.
It was also your gateway to the International Federation, right. And you now work very closely with them with their marketing portfolio.
That's right. With their member association services, the division is called. So they look after there's 209 member associations within FIFA. So part of their development office seeks ways to enhance member associations' revenue generation potential, their women's football, their administration, their marketing. So my role is really off the field. Everything that happens off the field is within my portfolio and what I do with FIFA.
You also told us off air about your involvement in women football development across the globe while working with FIFA. Just elaborate a little bit more so our viewers can get that international feel of exactly what your involvement is.
Well, FIFA have taken, over the past maybe 5 years, have really upped the ante on women's football. And a lot of countries need help in managing the women's football, administering it, and generating much needed revenue, because the women's game really is a little bit behind insofar as that is concerned. Yeah. But over the past 5 years, we've seen the sport grow exponentially, yes. and the television, the viewership, the attendance figures, the participation figures. It is by far the biggest female participation sport in the world, with America leading. But it's taken huge strides in the East, in China, in Oceania, in Australia. I've been to New Zealand for women's football, and they are amazing. When women get together, and I know I'm biased, but when women get together for a common purpose, they can achieve unbelievable things. Absolutely. And women's football is something it's a marvel.
You said you've always enjoyed the plus ones, and we didn't want to start the show talking about who you're affiliated to, so to speak, because in your own right, you are a guru in what you do. But tell us about Amy, outside of the football or sports fraternity, married to such an iconic man. Well,
our lives are never really outside of football, because it's football 24/7. And my husband's an expert really on the field of play, so he gives you all the technical, being a UEFA A license holder, so he knows everything about football, and I know everything off the field. In fact, when we watch football together, I focus on the perimeter balls and the attendance, and he tells me what's happening on the field.
That's very interesting.
Yeah. What is it like to actually watch football in your house? Because I saw an Instagram post from you with the German Shepherd lying, watching Community Shield, but staring at you. And I was just thinking, what a fun place to watch football in your home.
Well, it's very funny. We have one German Shepherd that actually watches the TV. I think she follows Kalusha's footsteps. But we have great fun because my husband laughs at me every time I have a comment on the technical side. You know, I say, look at that guy, look what he's doing. Yeah, so it's a lot of fun. Yeah.
All right, let's talk about who you are at home in terms of your inspirations. When you come back from a difficult day at home, what do you draw inspiration from? What gets you reignited again to follow through with next projects that you're probably busy with?
Look, if I can start by saying being a woman in this industry is difficult. Yes. I'm not going to deny that. Yeah. It's difficult. And in fact, the sporting world has got women all over the place in the background, trudging along, working hard and not being recognised at all. So it does get difficult sometimes at home. I think it's important when I get home to be positive, to think that we can make a difference. I think I'm very lucky that I have managed to make a small difference wherever I've been, and that's been recognised with my role at FIFA, which is a huge accolade for me. And I'm very lucky to have a partner and husband in Kalusha that's ultimately the most positive person I know, and always brings me up and motivates me to do better. I'm always trying to better myself in one way or another, but it is difficult out there. You have to tap into yourself, your inner strength to say, carry on, you can do this, because your doors get shut on a daily basis, and the boys' club doors are always open. True. So, you know, you need to be knocking on those doors.
And how important is it to, I suppose, have a husband, a partner, people around you that are positive and that are incredibly supportive?
It's the most important thing. It's the most, after your own self being positive, it's the most important thing. You need to be, and I think over the years when you have achieved, you have something to you know, as we say in South Africa, we've paid our school fees. I think your reputation counts for a lot. So it's important that you have achieved something, you know, that people can see, and they do motivate you to say, look, you know, you've done this, carry on, you can do more.
Absolutely.
Which is my challenge at the moment with women's football. I've taken it as something that I really want us to grow in this country.
What is your involvement in terms of women football at the moment in South Africa only?
Well, at the moment, not that much, because not much is happening. You know, not to take anything away from the Sasol League, which is great, and Janine van Wyk with her tournaments and her academy are doing great work, but it's nowhere near what we can do. So there is stuff in the pipeline in terms of leagues, in terms of other sponsorships coming in. And that's really exciting. That's exciting because it makes sense for women to be running women's football. We can't have, you know, really, it's enough now. We can't have male leadership in women's football.
Male coaches in women's football.
Exactly.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you.
Because we're on the topic of women's football, there's the big discussion. It's a little bit of a chicken and egg situation. It's, well, we need money to be able to grow women's football. So in other words, we need sponsorship to come on board. And then the sponsors will say we need to be able to see where our fruits are going to be seen by the rest of the public before we are able to get behind it. I mean, coming from the marketing side and understanding the challenges on the ground from the women's football side, and then also understanding what the market wants and how the market views sports sponsorship. I mean, what is the way forward?
Sponsorship is changing drastically with the economies. Everyone, you know, is looking after each and every penny. Sponsors are looking for out-of-the-box thinking, and I think women's football offers something very, very different. It offers you inroad into the female consumer, which men's football does to a certain degree, but women's football really taps into the female consumer, as well as offering a very nice platform to speak to the masses. It shows the attendance figures, even in South Africa, have proven that it is a sport to be reckoned with.
A quote you live by and women that inspire you here in South Africa in sport?
In sport, your last guest, I love her. Kaz Naidoo is just on another level. And I look up to people like Fran Hilton-Smith, who have been there, done that, and they've hung in there through thick and thin because she's had it tough as well. And she's still there after all of that. So those are two of my icons. Yeah.
Wow.
Before you go, I just want to ask you, because we are in Women's Month, and it's been such a difficult Women's Month because we've seen terrible violence against, very public incidences of violence against women. You are involved, you're a board member for Women and Men Against Child Abuse. So that's right in the area that your interests are. Just tell us a little bit about the work that you do there.
You know, it's difficult to speak about that because it's horrific. I have to tell you that when we have board meetings, it's very difficult to read through the board pack because some of the incidences are horrific, and children and women are still bearing this brunt of violence and abuse. And what it involves is really, from a board point of view, is trying to direct the foundation from a marketing point of view, from an exposure, from a PR point of view, and we do quite well with that. But the problem is horrific, and it just doesn't seem to be waning. It just seems to be getting worse.
Yeah. Sure. Well, that's ending it on that note, Amy. But before we quickly go, do you listen to music?
Yes, I do.
What kind of music?
I'm a big R&B fan.
What's your favorite song currently playing?
Currently playing, what do I love? Oh, no,
Riri?
You've caught me off guard there.
Rihanna?
No.
R&B,
no.
Beyonce?
No.
What kind of
Beyonce. You know who I'm loving is Bruno Mars. I just love this guy.
Oh, do you know one of his songs?
Yes, the 80s song. How does it go? Like 80s, 90s
I know,
song.
I've got it right there as well.
Uptown Funk?
Exactly, Uptown Funk, one of them. I love Bruno Mars.
And also a little bit of John Legend. I saw you quote some of his lyrics.
Yes, we went to see him live. I loved John Legend. In fact, all of them, there's very few I don't like. R&B is my thing.
You can't sing for us. But
no ways. Are you crazy?
Last words before we let you go. A message to the women who aspire to be where you are today.
The most important message for me is that you have to know your stuff. It's pointless to be pretty. You need to be pretty awesome. You need to be pretty tough, and you need to know your stuff. That's the most important thing for me. You need to know, because when you walk into the boardroom, it's pointless sitting there and
looking pretty with
and
nothing
looking pretty.
to say.
You need to know exactly what's going on, and let those men be bowled over by your knowledge
and intelligence. Thank you so much.
Amen. That's absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much for coming into
our
lounge. It's been wonderful hearing your insights.